It's Wednesday, September 11th, and this is the Daily Medical News by MD Edge, where we bring you the top medical headlines and take a closer look at the day's biggest story. I'm Nick Andrews.
And I'm Mary Ellen Schneider. Today, the FDA takes aim at the marketing claims for JUUL e-cigarettes.
Adding a blood microRNA assay to low-dose CT scanning sharpens lung cancer screening in heavy smokers.
The U.S. has seen a huge increase in chronic hypertension in pregnancy.
And why having the correct cuff size matters when taking a child's blood pressure.
Plus, a new study may force a rethink of what constitutes a healthy body mass index.
The FDA Center for Tobacco Products has warned e-cigarette giant JUUL Labs that it's marketing modified risk tobacco products without FDA authorization. The feds say JUUL's marketing could lead consumers to believe that JUUL products have a lower risk of tobacco-related disease than cigarettes and other traditional tobacco products. Acting FDA Commissioner Dr. Ned Sharpless says that the law is clear. Before marketing tobacco products for reduced risk, companies must demonstrate with scientific evidence that their specific product does in fact pose less risk or is less harmful. Dr. Sharpless says JUUL has ignored the law, and he says the FDA is concerned that some of JUUL's claims are reaching school-aged youth.
Adding a blood microRNA assay to low-dose CT lung cancer screening in heavy smokers improves lung cancer prevention efforts, and it could cut unneeded repeat CT scans without compromising lung cancer detection or mortality. Those are the key findings from the prospective BioMILD trial of more than 4,000 current or former heavy smokers. The study's results were reported at the World Conference on Lung Cancer. Studies have shown that microRNA expression profiles in tumors and in normal lung tissue indicate aggressive lung cancer development. Specific microRNA signatures can be read in plasma samples up to 2 years before cancer is detected by CT. Researchers divided their study patients into 3 groups. 2 groups of patients had positive findings via low-dose CT or microRNA assay, and they were followed up with low-dose CT 1 year later or sooner. Those who were negative initially on both low-dose CT and assay were followed up 3 years later. In the patients with negative initial findings who underwent follow-up CT 3 years later, there were no significant differences in the proportion of stage 1 lung cancers, resection rates, or interval cancer incidence, compared with patients followed up more frequently.
There's been a significant jump in the rate of chronic hypertension during pregnancy in the U.S. since 1970, and older women and black women are bearing the brunt of that increase. Researchers from Rutgers University in New Brunswick, New Jersey, analyzed data from more than 151 million women between 1970 and 2010. They found that the rate of chronic hypertension in pregnancy increased steadily over time from 1970 to 1990, plateaued a bit from 1990 to 2000, and then increased again to 2010. The analysis revealed, on average, an annual increase of 6%. Overall, there was a 13-fold increase from 1970 to 2010. Those increases appeared to be independent of rates of obesity and smoking, but rates of chronic hypertension did rise with maternal age among both black and white women. The overall prevalence of chronic hypertension in pregnancy was 2-fold higher in black women compared with white women. The researchers suggest that changed diagnostic criteria for hypertension, the nation's increasing mean age at first birth, and social determinants of health may all have played a part in this increase. We'll be right back with the Daily Medical News after this message.
Will using the wrong size cuff in children really make much difference in blood pressure readings? That's the question Columbia University researchers in New York set out to answer in a study they presented at the Joint Hypertension 2019 meeting. There are 5 cuff sizes in pediatrics, depending on a child's arm circumference. Ideally, it's measured beforehand, so the correct cuff size is used. But sometimes clinicians just estimate arm size before choosing a cuff, or they opt for the medium-sized cuff in most kids. The researchers wanted to quantify how much the wrong cuff size throws off blood pressure readings in children. So they took a Goldilocks approach to automated readings on 137 children, one with a too big cuff, one with a too small cuff, and one with a just right cuff. The results? An arm cuff that's one size too small in children will artificially elevate blood pressure by 5 millimeters of mercury, while one size too large will drop it by 5. The findings were the same in both girls and boys, and they held across age groups, and in under, over, and normal weight children. Cuff size had no statistically significant effect on diastolic pressure.
And finally today, middle-aged adults with a BMI in the overweight range had a significantly better adjusted survival during a follow-up of nearly 10 years than did those with a, quote, normal BMI. The finding suggests the current widely accepted definition of normal body mass index may in fact be wrong. Researchers from McMaster University, the Population Health Research Institute in Hamilton, Ontario, presented the findings at the annual Congress of the European Society of Cardiology. The investigators analyzed data from a worldwide study of more than 140,000 people between the ages of 35 and 70 from low, middle, and high-income countries. They found that people with an overweight BMI of 25 to 29 had significantly better survival after a median of 9.5 years of follow-up than did those with normal BMI, which was 20 to 24. A BMI of 27 was associated with optimal survival among both women and men. But BMI paled as a survival prognosticator when measured against 2 other weight assessments. The first was waist-to-hip ratio, which adds the dimension of the location of body fat rather than just the amount. The second assessment was even more prognostically powerful. It's a novel measure that calculates the ratio of hand grip strength to body weight. That ratio assesses the contribution of muscle mass to overall weight. The optimal waist-to-hip ratio for survival is 0.8 in women and 0.9 in men. The optimal strength-to-weight ratio is 0.4 in women and 0.5 in men. That means that a man whose hand grip strength, measured in kilograms, is half of his body weight has the best prospect for survival. And that concludes today's edition of the Daily Medical News. Be sure to listen to the latest episode of the Psychcast. It's available every Wednesday, wherever podcasts are found. For MD Edge, I'm Nick Andrews.
And I'm Mary Ellen Schneider. Thanks for listening.